Welcome to the presentation of MDA 8.6.3. My name is Matthias Geckeler. At ITAS I am the product manager for MDA. In the present video I am going to demonstrate the new features and improvements listed here. In the description below the video you can find jump marks to access a topic. I will begin with an enhancement for the File Explorer, which results in an indication of attachments and references of measure files. MDA 8's File Explorer lists all files which are assigned to a configuration. Already since a former version, optionally included attachments for an MDF file are shown, like an A2L file or datasets. Whether such additional contents are saved in the MDF file can be defined by means of an Inker user option. Now, with MDA 8.6.3, also referenced and linked files are listed. For example, in case of an AFF file entry, these are the bus trace file as well as the CAN bus description file. The small arrow shown as overlay for the file icon indicates the reference towards an independent file. As another example, references to video recordings can be mentioned. Besides the clearer representation in the File Explorer, the enhancement also improves the export functionality. So far, when creating a ZDX export file, mainly the XDX configuration file and all files assigned to it were included. Now also the referenced independent files are part of the export file. As already shown with MDA 8.6.2, when performing an import operation for an ZDX file, separate subfolders are created for each file which is assigned to the configuration. When looking into such a subfolder, the referent files can be found as well, which demonstrates that these were part of the export file. Next, I'd like to present a usability improvement for defining the time offset of signals. With a former release of MDA 8, a simple and comfortable way for setting a file time offset was introduced. While pressing the Shift key, just the signal curve of any signal of the file needs to be dragged with the mouse. As a result, the whole file gets this time offset. But there is another use case, namely that just some selected signals from a file need to be shifted against the other signals of the same measure file. With MDA 8.6.3, the same procedure as for a file time offset is supported. Again, the respective signal is selected, the Shift key needs to be pressed, and then the signal curve is dragged with the mouse. The only difference is that you have to choose another option in the dialog for confirming the time offset. Then MDA creates a calculated signal. It gets the same name as the shifted signal, but has the time offset assigned to it. If you are not satisfied with the offset value, you can simply drag the signal again. The updated value will be applied to the calculated signal. To make the usage even more comfortable, MDA will automatically replace all instances of the original signal by the calculated signal with the time offset. This affects both instruments which displayed the original signal, as well as calculated signals which used it as an input signal. Accordingly, the signal time offset is consistently used in the whole configuration. The replace operation is the same as you can do it manually. Now, with MDA 8.6.3, the replace operation is also accessible via the context menu of the instruments, which allows to return quickly to the state with the original signal without the time offset. There is one important aspect I'd like to mention. By the implementation, the original signal as well as the shifted calculated signal exist in parallel. This can be seen as an advantage or as a disadvantage. On one hand, you can use both signals independently. On the other hand, you have to decide and make sure that you select the signal you actually want to use. For example, if you intend to generate a new measure file which shall include the signal having the time offset, but not the original signal, then you need to select in the Variable Explorer first all signals from both the measure file and the calculated signals. Next, you deselect the original unshifted signal, and finally you trigger the export. The following section is about a better selection of the default strip in the oscilloscope. To select for a signal the default strip in the oscilloscope, MDA is using the signal type information. This means the type of the conversion formula is interpreted, but this allows only a very limited differentiation. Especially for signals having a verbal conversion, the result is often not satisfying. Namely, if the conversion allows only two states, but the signal is still added to an analog strip. To make a better choice of the default strip, now MDA 8.6.3 additionally takes the data type into account. If the data type is defined as a 1-bit, the signal is inserted into a Boolean strip independently from the actual conversion formula. This will improve the default behavior for a lot of enumerations. However, there will be other signals which a user also would like to see displayed in a Boolean strip. Unfortunately, MDA cannot identify such cases by means of simple criteria. But there is still the possibility for the user to manually treat a signal as Boolean. If done once, MDA will persist this assignment and insert any signal with the same name into a Boolean strip independently from the measure file. Now follows the demonstration of a new instrument which was implemented to support a specific use case. For electric vehicles, the state of charge of the battery is an important aspect. This is true for the whole battery system, but also for the individual battery cells. With MDA 8.6.3, a new instrument with the name Battery Imbalance Table is available. It follows the usual behaviors in MDA, like signals can be added by means of drag and drop. The main part of the instrument is a table with 3 columns. At the left, the signal name is shown. At the right, the individual cell voltage. In the center column, the deviation of a cell from the average voltage of all cells is listed. The table can be sorted by the center column, which represents the imbalance. If this is done in descending order, the instrument will show for the currently selected point in time on top those cells which have the highest relevance for the battery system in total. Additionally, in the header area, some general data is given. The number of signals assigned to the table, as well as the average, the minimum and the maximum voltage. All data relates to the currently selected point in time. The instrument can be synchronized. This allows, for example, to identify in the oscilloscope a specific point in time, which can then be analyzed in more detail in the imbalance table. And vice versa, a point in time can be set via the time slider in the imbalance table, and the cursor in the oscilloscope will follow. Finally, an enhancement for MDA's interface to read and write ASCII-based measure files can be shown. By means of description files, it is possible to define how MDA shall read and write ASCII-based textual measure files. The existing set of options was extended by a new option. When being activated, MDA 8 can create MRF files, which have in general the same structure as MRF files created by MDA version 7. Therefore, also an update of the MRF description file was done and is delivered with the MDA 8.6.3 installation. Let's have a look what the new option is doing. In the export dialog of MDA, the MRF format can be selected from the drop-down of all supported file formats. Usually, when a textual file is created, also the resampling option will be used. As you can see, I prepared in advance such an MRF file with MDA version 7. For an easy comparison, I loaded both files in Excel. The new option causes that an additional column is created. It is the first column in all data rows and represents the row index. The signals data in both files is of course the same. The main difference in the data block of both files is that MDA 8 writes values only after a first sample was available in the original file. Another difference can be seen in the header. Here, MDA version 7 allows to split the device name into a separate row. Such an option will be available in the next release of MDA 8. Finally, this slide summarizes all main changes done in MDA 8.6.3. For more details, please have a look into the What's New slides. You can find these as well as further information materials both in MDA 8 directly as well as on the ETAS homepage. Thank you for your attention and for your interest in MDA 8.